we saw John Morant once again. You know, we covered this story earlier this year when John Morant was in a situation where he was caught inside of a club on IG Live, brandishing a gun, brandishing a weapon. And we gave our remarks on it at the time. And the only thing that you could say was that, you know, it was a stupid mistake and that he was jeopardizing his career for something that was stupid. And then you turn around and in less than 4 months later, really less than 2 months later,
2 months, right?
now you find this guy in another video that was posted online on IG Live holding a gun. Now, when I originally watched this video, um, initially when I watched it, because you hear all the people saying, why does Ja Morant have these people hanging around him or these people influencing him? That's what you hear the people saying. And I thought to myself the same thing, like, okay, this has to do with his friends, the influence of his friends. But if you watch the video closely and you look at the reaction of his friend, I believe his name was Devontae Parker or something like that.
Yeah.
Uh, he's actually going live thinking that they're all just dancing in the background. He doesn't expect John Morant to be dumb enough to pull out a gun while he's actually going live on Instagram Live. And if anybody who's going live on Instagram, you know, when you look at the phone screen, you can see that you're live.
Mm.
So John Morant was able to see his phone going live and then decided to actually pull up a gun later in the video. And as soon as his friend saw the gun being flashed, he quickly turned the camera and tried to drop it down because he knew the consequences. So his friend essentially was actually smarter than Ja.
Mm.
So we can't keep blaming Ja Morant's associates or the crowd he chooses to associate with over his actions. We have to blame what's between his two ears.
Mm.
Because if you look at the video, they're all dancing. Then all of a sudden, Ja Morant picks up the gun. And as soon as his friend sees the gun, now he drops the camera.
Yeah.
You big dummy.
Fred Sanford.
I mean, how? And I know, you know, a lot of it's being overplayed with everybody, you know, coming out with their criticism, but the criticism is warranted. It's warranted. This is less than 2 months after you just finished getting suspended for the same thing. And you turn right back around and put yourself in a situation. Your friend didn't put you in that situation. You put yourself in a situation.
Exactly. Exactly. And we also have to blame the National Basketball Association for not adequately punishing Ja, you know, for the first incident, which actually came on the heels of the suit that's been filed by the teenager that he and Devontae Pack, last name Pack, supposedly beat up, you know, while they had a pickup basketball game going, you know, at on the basketball court at Ja's mansion, you know, in the Memphis area. Uh, I just wanted to say that, you know, I put this in the category of what Dr. Amos Wilson called the psychology of self-hatred and self-defeat. And, you know, from my personal experience with family members, you know, it's a category of African people I know all too well. It's a major crisis. Based on the video, the lyrics and the music, you hear the N word, you hear, you know, talking about, you know, dead black people, dead N words, and it clearly fits. It clearly fits in that category. And this is supposedly, I'm assuming it's taking place in Memphis. I don't know, but I know that, you know, Ja is a superstar in Memphis. Memphis has blown past its crack cocaine era record of 213 homicides set in 1993. Now, some cities have blown past the crack era, which saw a devastating loss of young black lives, particularly young black males. Chicago, for example, has not reached theirs, but Memphis blew past the 213 with 332 homicides in 2020, 346 in 2021, 302 in 2022. And this, we're talking about a city here of about 680,000 people. In Charlotte, Charlotte had 110 homicides in 2022. Charlotte has a population of about 880,000. So you can see this is a real problem. According to FBI data, Memphis was the most violent metropolitan area in the United States in 2020, and data from other sources such as Population U ranked Memphis as the #1 most dangerous city in the United States in 2022. And this is the image its biggest star is projecting. Now, I do want to read from Amos, because I think he says some things here, because the socio-historical, socio-cultural, socio-political, socio-economic context is important. So I'm just going to read something from Amos here, you know, his book, Understanding Black Adolescent Male Violence. In the context of today's Black urban ghettos, African-American youth, unprotected by a firm African-centered identity and consciousness, unguided by a deep and abiding sense of higher purpose, untutored and untrained by strong, independent, African-centered families and cultural institutions, are prone to fall victim to a series of projective, political, and economic assaults on their personalities, perceptions, and perspectives, which predispose many of them toward a life of crime and violence. Now, I'm not just Ja up to this point in his life, achieved great things athletically, and had not been involved in a life of crime and violence. Many of our young brothers and sisters also see athletics as a way out and don't dare go back or return to this kind of behavior. But in far too many, as Amos says, far too many, you know, they are prone, they fall victim to a series of projective, political, and economic assaults on their personalities, perceptions, and perspectives. Certainly, a lot of this are images that are coming out of the entertainment industry, you know, from the celebrity distraction class, particularly the lyrics and the music. Okay, continuing with Amos. These assaults on the psyche of these vulnerable adolescents, which are but the after effects of the same assaults against the collective psyches of their ethnocultural group, their class, their local community, and family, are such that many react with psychopathic or sociopathic tendencies. Now, we're not accusing Ja Morant of being a psychopath or a sociopath, nothing like this. This is just a general description being given by Amos. But here's something that's critically important that's directly related to what Brother Amos just mentioned about not learning. And it is our good friend Gullah Jack that constantly reminds me of this in many of the conversations we had. I don't know anybody that knows more about the work of Amos, Dr. Amos Wilson, than our good friend Gullah Jack. So Amos is quoting from Milan, and he's writing on sociopathic personality disturbance and antisocial reaction. And he says, this is the point: chronically antisocial individuals who are in trouble, profiting neither from experience nor punishment, and maintaining no real loyalties to any person, group, or code, they are frequently callous and hedonistic, showing marked emotional immaturity, with a lack of sense of responsibility, a lack of judgment, an inability to rationalize and an ability to rationalize this behavior so that it appears unwarranted, reasonable, and justified. This is exactly what Amos said. He says, always in trouble, profiting neither from experience nor punishment, frequently callous, hedonistic, showing marked emotional immaturity with a lack of sense of responsibility, lack of judgment. Okay. So, I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And of course, Dr. Amos has his, solutions. Everybody should read. Anybody that's particularly raising a young African male in the United States or really anywhere in the world needs this book. Should be one of the first things that you read, and come to us with questions if you don't understand what the good brother is saying. So, in the context of that, what I've said is that transforming young Africans from thoughts, actions which diminish or eliminate their possibilities to action which enhance their possibilities is one of our greatest challenges in the 21st century. I mean, this is where we are. I mean, I was, after the discussion we had last week, I went back and reread, what the great Dr. Cheikh Anta Diop said about, the three factors that were necessary for us to understand, analyze, and produce information on. But he said the ultimate objective of what he was doing was a cultural revolution. I'm gonna post that. I'm gonna post that on our Facebook page. This is what Dr. Diop said, in the African origin of civilization. So, this is something that has to be a priority for us. And man, I hope Ja Morant. I mean, Ja has the resources. Ja has the resources. He could hire people. He could hire black psychologists. He could have people like Amos to come in and teach him about the African origin of civilization, the origin of humanity. I mean, he could do this. A lot of our brothers couldn't. They would have to be directed towards something, right, that turns them around. So, we just wanted to, bring that up because, right now, Ja's on a collision course with self-destruction.